You an enabler. Reminds me of Brian Wilson. His mother turned a blind eye to Brian getting beaten by his father. His father hit him on the ear, and he ended up with a punk of wood, and he ended up with 9% hearing, basically deaf. And Dennis and Brian were always getting beaten, but Carl for some reason wasn't. But an enabler is a person. I remember welfare here. There was a man and a woman went in, and the kids were covered in bruises. And the staff at welfare were quite upset. And they said to the woman, they got her aside, they separated them. And they said, she was very meek, and they said to her, "Is he hitting the children?" And the woman says, "No." And she says, "Well, why do they all have bruises on them?" And she said, "There's like 4 kids." And the wife, she just said, because they're, because they had accidents. They fell over, they slipped up, and things like that. And that's how come they were hurt. And so she said, they said to her, they kept questioning her. And in every single case, she backed up and supported the man and never once accused him of doing wrong. So in the end, the staff went to the back and had a meeting about it. And they were more angry at her than at him because she was an enabler. An enabler is a person who denies the obvious truth. Like, you could be living with a man, you're a woman, he could be sexually abusing you or your children, or your children, not you, but abusing you mentally, like Stockholm Syndrome and gaslighting. And you're sitting there always seeing him as a great hero and a great man and all this sort of stuff. And other people are turning around constantly telling you that he's evil, he's bad, he's lying to you. And you're sitting there saying, no, and you didn't go into denial. And so, because you go into denial about what the public thinks, you also go into denial about what's happening in your home. You've made an idol out of a person who plays the victim, wants you to mother him, and do everything for him and adore him, while he sexually or physically, emotionally abuses your children. And they might not be his children, but yours from previous relationship. And so you're sitting there and he's abusing your children, but you're in denial for everything. I was in denial. A girl I was going with, we were living in a house, and everyone kept telling me she was going around with guys, and I was always telling myself, no, she'd never do that to me. And it got so bad, she went to the pictures with a guy, and they were holding hands in front of all the public. One of my friends, someone I'd known from childhood, came in and said, "Look, we saw her in town holding this guy's hand. You know, it's really obvious." And I was like, no, she'd never do that. Eventually I got tired of it, and I confronted her over it. She just bawled her eyes out and said, no, it's not true, And I believed her. And so I know a lot about denial. I know a lot about being sucked in. I know a lot about being gullible. And I know a lot about being an enabler, because I enabled her to do it to me. So you can be in a relationship, and as long as you're in denial and you refuse to believe that what's happening is happening, you are allowing your children to be abused. If you're a single mum and you get into a marriage or relationship, your first priority is your children, not yourself, and not your weaknesses like sex or drugs or alcohol or parties. The child should come first. The children should come first. Make sure they're protected, their needs are being met, and they're in a safe environment. If you're enabling, if people are telling you bad things about the person you're with, and you're refusing to believe it, then you will refuse to believe anything else that happens in the home by that person. You will enable that person, and you'll actually see abuse right there in front of you. Like, you might catch him touching your daughter, and he'll have a ready excuse. And you say, well, why did you do that? And say, she had a prickle there, or he found something there and he helped her, and he'll threaten the child and say, if you seems to be one of the common ones is, if you tell anyone, it's our little secret. If you tell anyone, I will kill your mother or whatever, and the child gets so scared they allow themselves to be abused. It's the mother's fault or the parents' fault to recognize this and stop it so that it doesn't happen. It's a very serious and horrible thing, and the children need our backup and support. They don't need to have an enabling, weak-minded parent who will allow them to be abused, used, and their future and their innocence taken away and their future destroyed. So, enabling parents who are enablers are very weak and pathetic, and you must make sure that it's not you. Okay, just some words there. Have a good night. I gotta get back to work.